Good evening and welcome to the Methacton School District Board of Directors meeting. Please rise for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
By way of announcement, immediately following last week's meeting, we held an executive session where the board was updated on the conditional use hearing matter before the Worcester Board of Supervisors, and where we also discussed a personnel matter. We also met immediately before this meeting where we continued to discuss a personnel matter. Attendance, all board members are in attendance this evening with the exception of Mrs. Shackelford. Moving on to recognition of guests and scheduled speakers, Dr. Zerbe.
Thank you, Ms. Petrakis. Item 5.1, retirement recognition. Mr. Harney.
Unfortunately, Mr. Ismay is not here, but our courier will be retiring. Lou started with us 22 years ago. He was a bus driver and is now retiring at the end of this month. We have a plaque for him that we will get to him at a later date.
Thank you very much. It gives me great pleasure this evening to present Mr. Paul Spiewak and for him to introduce the tennis and golf teams as we present M Awards to the players of the team.
Thank you, Dr. Zerbe. It also gives me great pleasure to stand in front of the school board and our community to speak about something and present something that has made our athletic office and our high school and school district very proud. In the history of our school district, our athletic teams have collected a total of only 6 district titles, 3 state championships, and 1 runner-up in the state. This fall, between our girls' tennis team and our golf team, we won a district title for each of them, and both finished as runners-up in the state. So it was an incredible fall season as a whole, but especially for those two. For boys golf, they finished 12-1 overall. They were undefeated in the Pac-10. The program has won 3 out of the last 4 Pac-10 titles. This year they collected Methacton's first ever team district title, and as I stated, finished second in the state, which is the best finish in school history. So I'll now call the boys down to come receive their M Awards and be recognized. Senior Brandon Vance. Senior Mike Foley. Senior Corey Betham. Senior Nick Frasnay. Senior Jeff Hanwork. Junior Matt Thompson. Sophomore Zach Feaster. Sophomore Adam Duca. Freshman Kyle Vance. Freshman Dan Rieger. Assistant Coach Dave Ford. And Head Coach Kevin Flanagan. Congratulations again to the golf team. As far as our girls tennis team, along with their district title, they finished 19-2 on the season. They have won 4 Pac-10 championships in a row. They've collected Methacton's first ever district title and finished second in the state, also the best finish in Methacton school history. And I will now call the girls down to be recognized. Sophomore, Mihaela Kadranu. Freshman, Jordan King. Senior, Lauren Simeon. Sophomore, Paige McDougall. Freshman, Amanda Amwin-Wishay. Senior, Sasha Kermeti. Sophomore, Alejandra Castaneda. Assistant coach, Karen Simeon. And head coach, Kathy Miller. Again, congratulations to both teams on their District 1 championships.
Continuing on with item 5.3, North Monco Technical Career Center Programs, Mr. Michael Lucas.
Thank you, and I would like to thank the Methacton Board for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. As you know, Methacton is one of 5 districts that serves North Monco Technical Career Center. It's joined with Souderton, Wissahickon, PV, North Penn, and also Methacton. One of the things that I'd like to address to this board tonight and to the public is that North Monco has been a very progressive school, having 22 different technical programs serving students from grades 9 through 12. Methacton's population at North Monco is approximately 15%. We serve not only to do technical training, but we also provide heavy academics linked to those technical programs. In the past, technical schools were viewed, and a lot of them in the state still are viewed that way, that if you work good with your hands, go to VOTech. Well, you're not college material, so go to the technical school. Times have changed. The technical schools now are based on the economy, based on the nature of our country. More and more technical educators are needed, technical people, trained technicians are needed to support our economic base, not only in Montgomery County, but in the United States. Of our 22 programs, all of them are linked to post-secondary training. So students can leave our technical school and get anywhere from 3 to 18 credits towards their associate's degree at post-secondary institutions. About 70% of our population right now goes on to post-secondary training. So it's not just working with your hands or stopping at getting a job, it's also providing the opportunity to move on and go become lifelong learners. It's kind of incredible. Myself and my background, I've been in technical education for 33 years, at North Monco for the past 11. It used to be, I have two backgrounds, so maybe it'll make a little more sense on why we do things the way we do at North Monco. I have a degree in secondary English, and also am certified in auto mechanics. So Shakespeare and a torque wrench are equal to me. And it's very true. Now in today's economy, it used to be 2 parents were working full-time jobs. Now, because of the economy, maybe it's only 1. A college education is important for a lot of our students. However, technical skills and technical training is equally as important. We pride ourselves in that integration of academic and technical. We know that you can't just be a mechanic or a carpenter and lack math, science, and English skills necessary for those technical areas. So we provide an integrated approach to training our young people so that they're getting the academic skills. And a lot of times we get students that all of a sudden they were unable to do Algebra 1. But you put them into carpentry, and it's not a squared plus b squared. It's all of a sudden, this is how you figure out how many board feet or what's necessary to do a certain job, and algebra comes to them. So the technical programs become the catalyst to support academics. We also realize, too, that your schools, all of them that send to us, are having difficult times. We know that you got the SPP, you have Keystones, it was PSSA. There's always this rigor that is required, and can technical education fit into that rigor? That's a challenge that this board faces and a number of boards face. Where do we draw the line? Do we send 9th graders, or can they get more if they stay at your sending school? And the question is it's a very, very difficult one to answer. You're required and you're viewed under a microscope by the community. At the same time, you want to provide the opportunities to all your students. And so it becomes a dilemma, one that North Monco and myself are committed to help resolve and help work with you to make sure it's not that every student needs technical education, it's not that every student's going to go to college, but if those students at least have the career choice to say, I went to North Monco and I hated it, and I don't want to go back, then they made their first career choice, and it's a good one. The opportunity is not for me to say that everyone should go there, but there is a niche for the right group of individuals to support that. Out of our group of, at the technical school, over 40% have an IEP, 60% do not, and as I said, they're all going on to post-secondary training, and it's been a good opportunity. I provided the board with a packet that has a number of pieces of information. Anything that I say here is on our website, so there's no need for notes or anything. You can go to the website. We also are linked to Methacton. You can click on Methacton's website and go to North Monco. So we provide that opportunity. We just had an open house this past week where we do recruiting of your 8th grade students. So your 8th grade students, a guidance counselor will come to your school and talk to a large group. From that point, there's students that are interested from that 8th grade group. They come and do a tour. It's sort of a rapid tour because we have 22 programs and we only have you there maybe for a half a day. After that, then we have our open house about 2 weeks after that. So the students that are interested can bring their parents in to meet the instructor, see the programs, and find out really, is this something that they would be interested in? If they come as a 9th grade student, we don't lock them in. If they say, all I wanted to be was an auto mechanic, and that's all I ever want to be, and they get to the Career Center, and in 2 weeks, they hate it. The 9th grade time is the time to be fluid. You can try any program you want. It's not that you're locked in. Moms and dads have to understand that they are going to switch. All of us switched. We switched numbers of times. I'm still not sure what I want to be when I grow up, but that kind of philosophy is happening, so we understand that. They can try different programs and find their niche, and if it isn't at North Monco, they have the opportunity to come back to Methacton. So we offer those avenues and try to limit the barriers for our students coming to the school. A couple more pieces of information. I'm going to do a little advertising for the last minute. North Monco, we just finished a $12 million renovation project. If you had not been to the school, please come and see it. Our salon that's open 5 days a week to serve the public. The students in cosmetology must work on live a mannequin is only good for a certain period of time. Then they have to do real hair, real nails, manicure, so you can come for a day of pampering. The salon's open 5 days a week. Restaurants open 2 days a week. We have a 50-seat restaurant now, where we did not have that within a part of our curriculum. We couldn't teach front of the house. Restaurants open Wednesdays and Thursdays. All this information is on the website. We have floral design and landscaping. Someone planning a wedding, we can do the flower arrangements. You have centerpieces that you need. Different times during the holidays, we'll be offering different things of that nature. Again, they all serve as an outlet for our technical students. A lot of times when we do cooking and baking, we have leftover food. We work with Man on Main Street and other soup kitchens to supply them with that outlet. That's what the restaurant is for. It's not set to be a business or to compete against business in the area. It's set to serve as an outlet so we don't have to waste the food and product that the students are producing. We also offer driver's education. We're one of the few schools where you can come and get behind the wheel, the classroom training, and also take the test, so you don't have to go to the police barracks. The test is provided. We're sanctioned by the Department of Transportation to offer driver's ed and that education. So we're rather diverse at North Monco. However, we're probably one of the best kept secrets in northern Montgomery County, and I wish all of you that if you could, come and tour the school and have the opportunity to see how career and technical education has really changed and become a benefit to your district and the other 4 we serve. Thank you. Any questions, please?
I don't have a question. Just wanted to make 2 comments. I haven't had a chance to use the salon yet, but I certainly have had the food. And I think that the VOTEC does a tremendous service for the students of Methacton and the other sending districts. And if you look at the 22 programs that Mike talked about, it's not just carpentry and auto mechanics, but there's also internet technologies and biotechnologies. There's real world skills that the kids learn there. And it's not necessarily either or. We had a board meeting last night and there was some great conversation about partnering with the community college around the culinary arts program. So I think they do a tremendous service for the Methacton kids to take advantage of it. And also I think that Mike and his team do a great job of being fiduciaries for the budgets that are provided by Methacton and the other sending districts. So just wanted to say thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Thank you again, Methacton Board, for the opportunity to present tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. Moving on, item 5.4, Home and School Presentation, Eagleville Home and School Association.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa Koop, and I'm the president of Eagleville's Home and School. I have Dawn Strokowski with me. She's our vice president. This is my 2nd year acting as president at Eagleville. It's my 4th year in the building. I have 3rd grade twin girls. So we only have 1 more year at Eagleville, and I'm already upset thinking that I'm going to be leaving soon. But tonight I wanted to focus on some vocabulary words that are commonly used throughout Eagleville's Home and School. Our theme this year is It's a Small World, Uniting Families, and we are focusing on combining all of our different types of families in the school. So we're going to have a little vocabulary lesson tonight. I'm a former teacher, so I apologize. So here we go. The first word we're going to focus on is family. The definition of family in the Merriam-Webster dictionary is a group of people united by certain convictions or a common affiliation. Well, at Eagleville, our definition of family is a group of parents, caregivers, staff, and teachers caring about the same 370 students. Those little faces that line the halls and the classrooms at Eagleville is everyone's focus at Eagleville. Everyone is there for the same reason, and we're all working together as a family, making sure that their days at Eagleville are happy ones. Throughout the hallways, I was fortunate enough to be there today. I heard children using the word, "We're Eagleville family." So Mrs. Brucker is doing a great job of enforcing that with our students this year. Our next word, team. Merriam-Webster defines team as a group of people who work together. Well, at Eagleville, team means to us home and school volunteers, staff and teachers working together for all the students' well-being, creating relationships based on trust and respect. The word trust and respect are important at Eagleville. Every day, I hand my 2 children over to Mrs. Brucker and those teachers, and I trust and respect them, and I know that for the 6.5, 7 hours that they're with them, that they're taken care of. The staff and faculty at Eagleville do the same to home and school. They trust and respect us and know that what we are planning for our students throughout the year is going to be in their best interest. Our next word, consistent. Merriam-Webster defines consistent as always acting or behaving in the same way, of the same quality, good each time, continuing to happen or develop in the same way. At Eagleville, consistent means developing and establishing events and activities that the students and families grow to depend on and look forward to from year to year. Basically, this means when I walk into the hallway, which I'm there all the time, I have children who come up to me and say, "Mrs. Coop, are we doing game night again this year? Are we going to have baskets? Are we going to get to have lunch with the principal?" That, in my mind, means that I'm being consistent. Every year, the children look forward to these events that we have planned. We have families in our population that don't have the privilege or the benefit of experiencing things. When I chose to be on Eagleville's board, my main goal, and everyone has heard me say this at Eagleville, my main goal was to provide children the opportunity to experience things that they would not necessarily get to do outside of our 4 walls in our school. And I can proudly say that we have done that. Children at Eagleville have experienced things that I know they would never be able to get unless they were not at Eagleville. So every year we have events that we do in the fall, the winter, and the spring. They are consistent, and they will be there from year to year. I'm making sure of that. Next word, support. Merriam-Webster defines support as to agree with or approve of, to give help or assistance to someone or something. In Eagleville, support means to provide our school the ability to continue ongoing initiatives and programs, to assist our families in need, and provide help when asked. Eagleville Home and School is there for whatever our students need, not just for game night, not just for holiday shop. If a family is in need of coats, if a family is in need of heat for the winter, if a family is in need of a turkey dinner, Eagleville Home and School steps up and does what we need to do to take care of our own. And we support all areas, just like our teachers and support staff support our students. All right, the last word is the most important to me. It's the word strength. Merriam-Webster defines strength as the quality or state of being physically strong, the ability to resist being moved or broken by a force, the quality that allows someone to deal with problems in a determined and effective way. At Eagleville, and before I go into that definition, I know pretty much everyone in this room has been in the role I have been in. And anyone who has had to set up an event for over 600 people coming knows you need strength. You need physical strength, you need the numbers, and at Eagleville we have that. At Eagleville, strength means a group of volunteers who will stop at nothing for our students to go on field trips, watch assemblies, use technology, make crafts and celebrate holidays, dance and eat ice cream, play bingo and win prizes, watch a movie on the gym floor, shop at a holiday shop for a family, have a picnic, jump and climb on bouncies, and our favorite, dunk the principal in a dunk tank, smile and laugh, and have Eagleville a part of their memories forever. I only have over a year and a half left at Eagleville, and I know Eagleville is in my memory forever. It will be in Mackenzie and Morgan's memories forever. And the foundation that I have built at Eagleville with home and school, I know will continue because I'm building the support underneath me now for when I do leave, that the people are there to take on all of these activities that we have planned at Eagleville. It's a wonderful place. Everyone is always welcome to join us. All the school board members were given a little gift package from our fourth graders. They made you all the ever popular rainbow looms, so wear it with pride and enjoy the treats in the bag. Thank you.
Item 5.5, the website update for policy and update for the superintendent entry plan. Ms. Angela Lynch.
Okay, good evening. At the suggestion of the Policy Committee, we'll briefly go over the board's policy page to provide for public awareness. So any policies that come before the board, let me just get to the home page here. Any policies that come before the board and public for consideration are listed on this page. So you can find this page both in the board section, which is listed under our district, as well as on the home page. So we'll back out. I'll let you know where to get to that. Right here, board policies. I'm going to take a look here. And then at the bottom of the page, when policies come before the board, they're listed in the both in the agenda and Agenda Manager. They can be found for first and second reading, as well as on this page. And so this evening, there are no policies for consideration for either first or second reading, so there are neither listed here. However, were there policies to be under consideration, they would be listed on this page. Any questions about that? Okay. We'll take a look at Dr. Zerbe's plan here. Again, this is going to also be found on the home page, as well as Brenda Hackett. All right. The superintendent's entry plan can be found right here, as well as under district offices and the office of the superintendent. There's our Dr. Zerbe. So the Dr. Zerbe's entry plan is found here. This is the introductory page to his plan, and you can navigate the phases of his plan either from this page or by clicking on any of these pages here to the left. And then as Dr. Zerbe moves through the plan from phase to phase, we will endeavor to have blog entries that will appear at the bottom of each page so that you can follow the progress of his entry plan. Are there any questions about that? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Zerbe. Moving on to reports. Finance Committee, Mr. Nascimento.
Thank you. The Finance Committee met last Tuesday, went over various items related to the budget for next year. Stuart gave us an update on that planning. We heard a report from our auditors on the fiscal year audit of the district. Pleased to say that the report from the auditors was very, very positive. There were no outstanding items or anything of any concern there. And Stuart and his team gave an update on business office processes. What Stuart has been doing is just going through the district processes and policies around the business office to see what kind of efficiencies he can identify to save taxpayer money. And he gave a great presentation on the things that they've accomplished and the things that they're looking to do. And that is a report of the Finance Committee.
Thank you. Mrs. Shackelford isn't here this evening. Kim, do you have a report? Or
No, we did not have a meeting this month, and I guess the policy committee will reconvene after reorg. That's it, thanks.
Thank you. And Property Committee, Mr. Phillips.
No report other than make Worcester Township's meetings.
Very good. Technology Committee, Mr. Roth.
Yeah, I really don't have any report, as this was not a month for technology. Thank you.
Thank you. North Monaco Technical Career Center, do either one of you have anything to add?
Yeah, Christian and I were at the meeting last night where we discussed their annual audit. The auditors were there to pass on that there were certainly no problems, findings, deficiencies, material weaknesses in the audit period ending in June. The Tech Center had a very successful open house Thursday the 14th. And Mr. Lucas had reported to us last evening that over 900 people showed up for that. It was the best that they've had in some 20 years, and that 80% of those attending were parents and 8th grade students, which is his ideal target group. So that was good news. Our next meeting, along with the holiday buffet, is the 16th of December. That meeting time has been moved to 7:30. And there is a Breakfast with Santa event on December 14th from 9 to 11 a.m. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to intermediate unit, there's an error on the agenda. Our representative is Mr. Phillips.
Good evening. Not much to report other than I was voted onto the board last month. They're bringing me up to speed on their current events. My last meeting was mostly about last September. They didn't have enough for their quorum. So tomorrow night's the next meeting, and I will have an update for our next board meeting, being that I'll be up to date. Thanks.
Very good, thank you. Moving on to legislation. Well, the main focus of the legislation in Harrisburg this year has been on the transportation bill. That was voted down last night, 98 to 103. Really has no effect on the school district, but that has been a major focus. On December 3rd, the House Education Committee is scheduled to hold a public hearing to consider House Bill 1722, which is a bill that will clarify public school code so that school districts can furlough teachers when budget constraints make it necessary. House Bill 1735 does similar. It'll allow school districts to suspend educators for economic reasons as part of a plan to reduce or control school district costs. Also in the bill, it dictates how the teachers would be selected to be furloughed, and it also sets out some procedures that the school district will have to follow, like having a public meeting, take public comment, and explaining the process that we will follow. So let's see, Chapter 4, Common Core. The State Board of Education transmitted final form revisions to the Common Core standards. They presented it to the House and Senate Education Committee and the Independent Regulatory Review Committee. So all these agencies will be reviewing what was the draft of the Common Core, and they will act on it on this Thursday. Pension reform. Pension reform is not likely to happen. Representative Grell he's the sponsor of the bill, and he's having trouble even getting co-sponsors for it. And it's unlikely that this will be raised in an election year, which next year is. So I think we've heard about as much as we're going to hear on pension reform, but you never know. And then the tax elimination, property tax elimination, on October 5th, the Senate Finance Committee held a public hearing on both House Bill 76 and Senate Bill 76. The report that was demonstrated showed that there would be no real fiscal effect in the first year. However, it would be a huge impact over the subsequent 4 years, and so that doesn't appear to be going anywhere as well. Last Wednesday, I attended the legislative meeting at the IU, and I had the pleasure of meeting Donna Cooper. Donna Cooper is the executive director of PCCY, which is a Philadelphia-based nonprofit organization, Public Citizens for Children and Youth. And they advocate for children, they advocate for improvements in lives and life changes of children. And I don't know if you recall, maybe about 2 weeks ago, she held a press conference with Josh Shapiro, the chairman of the commissioners in Montgomery County. And what they're calling for is greater state funding for Montgomery County school districts. So I was very interested in talking to her, and hopefully we can help her, or our group can help her advocate for additional state money. And that's all I have for legislation. Moving on to community liaisons, Mrs. Barone and Mr. Roth.
I do not have a report for Lower Providence.
Tomorrow night is a Worcester Township Board of Supervisors meeting at 7:30 at the Community Hall. On the agenda is something regarding the district, regarding the extension of time for the land development application. I don't know if, Frank, you could just touch base on that real quick as to what that is all about.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Generally speaking, a municipality has 90 days to review a land development plan and to render its decision with respect to that plan. The 90 days begins to run from either the meeting of the Township Planning Commission or the Township Legislative Body, in Worcester's case would be the Board of Supervisors, whichever first reviews the plan. So the township is limited to those time parameters. In the event that they review the plan and they determine that there are deficiencies, and many times there are with respect to various issues with a plan, or they would like some things changed or negotiated and the like, those things can't be done within a time period of that 90 to 120-day period. And so they ask the landowner to give an extension of time with respect to that. And that apparently is what we've been asked to do, and that apparently is what we have done, and I guess they'll accept that tomorrow evening at their meeting.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
And Home and School Liaison, Mrs. Barone.
First, I'd like to thank Eagleville. I have my bracelet on already, so please thank the children and all these goodies. And I wanted to move on. I attended several home and school meetings this month, but the one I'm going to report on is I did attend last evening a home and school district council meeting, and what we're doing with this, what's so important about it is it's a reorganization of the entire program. So we're looking into, I shouldn't say we, Dr. Zerbe is looking into how we might want to restructure the program, make it a little more make it more into a governing body for the home and school. We have some things we're debating. There's a timeline put together for putting together council bylaws, training programs, codes of conduct, conflict resolution, things like that. So hopefully if everything goes as planned, if everything stays on schedule, we should be up and running and having a new board of officers by January. And that is it. Attending in that meeting, the people that were attending in that meeting were all the presidents of every school. So every school is represented and having input, and this should be a very good thing for our school district. So thank you.
Thank you. Student Board reps.
Thank you. First off, I would like to congratulate once again the Methacton High School girls tennis team and golf team for placing second in the state championships. Both teams played extremely well. As for the Methacton Marching Band, they placed 5th out of 25 at the Cavalcade of Band Championships. They were also voted Most Improved Band. On November 7th through 9th, the Methacton Theater Company performed the Crucible play. The production was directed by teacher Rosemary Welsh. It was a huge success, and everyone involved gave a fantastic performance. Congratulations to all those involved in this year's fall play. Neil?
Thanks, Natalia. In clubs this month, the Electric Car Club got a $10,000 donation from the Ambler Savings Bank. That's going towards our big project of converting a snack truck to run on vegetable oil and turning the back of that truck into a mobile renewable energy classroom. So that's going really well. Last Friday, the club Kids Against Crisis, known for their work on Save Darfur, but now they're working on donating toiletries to the needy, held a movie fundraiser. They raised about $250 and about 100 or so personal toiletry items like toothbrushes and toothpaste that they'll be assembling into kits and shipping off to the needy. Most seniors, including myself, are busy applying to colleges right now. Early decision applications were due at the beginning of this month, and the regular ones are due in January. The teachers and we ran into some problems with Naviance, the software we use to send recommendations and manage transcripts. But students all around the country reported those problems. But besides that, everything is going as we expected. As for the high school, we're currently implementing the plan for every student to have their own individual login. Everyone settled in pretty well with that. There's not really been a hitch so far. And students especially like the virtual locker system, which is kind of like cloud storage like Dropbox or Google Drive. That's all for us. Thank you.
Thank you. And on to Superintendent's report, Dr. Zerbe.
Thank you. I want to congratulate the re-elected members of the Methacton School Board and congratulate Brenda Hackett, who was recently elected and has been sworn into office by Elizabeth Yantosh, Notary Public, on Friday, November 15th, to serve the remaining term of our vacant director position. We will be having the Honorable Judge Thomas P. Rogers administer the oath of office to these members at the scheduled reorganization meeting on December 3rd, 2013. With regards to our emergency preparedness drill, today representatives from FEMA and FEMA were in the district evaluating our emergency preparedness drill procedures in the event of a nuclear accident at the Limerick Generating Station. The drill, which is typically held every 2 years, provides the district with feedback on the success of the drill and the recommendations to be made on how we can improve our procedures. The unofficial report is that there were no findings with our response and that the evaluators were pleased with our professionalism and tact of our responders. On to the field update. I am pleased to update the board and the public on the status of the Mascaro donation and the progress on the baseball field. As of this morning, the field has been properly graded to promote proper drainage. Sod has been added in planned areas. The dugouts have been constructed with block and brick is beginning to be laid. There is evidence that the fencing prep work is beginning as well. Progress continues on that field. With regards to the turf field and the lights project, the next conditional use hearing is scheduled for December 3rd. I can also report that I have had conversations with our architect that indicate draft bid documents for the fields will be provided soon for administrative review. And for some additional news items, we recently received some very exciting news from the College Board. Methacton Junior Lucy Yai has achieved a perfect score on the SAT, making her the third Methacton student in as many years to do so. I look forward to bringing Lucy to a future board meeting so that we can officially recognize her. Several Methacton High School students, art students, recently attended the National Portfolio Day event in Philadelphia. Of those who attended, I am proud to report that Brianna Brodkin, Caroline Douglas, Laura Cantonese, and Doris Slick received college acceptances on the spot from schools including the Art Institute of Chicago and the Pennsylvania School of Art and Design. And last but not least, I want to wish everyone a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. That ends my report.
Thank you. Moving on to public comment. This is the time where the community can comment on actions being taken by the board this evening. So do I have any comments? Very good. Moving on to fiscal items, Mr. Whiteleather.
Hang on.
I'm sorry.
Do you have a comment?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Last week, we had a work session that lasted exactly 13 minutes. I looked at this month's list of bills, and Mr. Whiteleather, I know you're working very hard, but I have a lot of questions about a lot of these payments that are being made. It's a long list, I don't want to get in on here, but one that stood out was the payment to Direct Energy Business for electric at Arcola. If I remember correctly, there's 108 geothermal wells situated behind my home, which have been compromised due to the earthquake that went through. But I've yet to hear of any savings the school district has seen on these 108 wells, and that was supposed to be one of the selling points by the former superintendent. There's also an electric payment for the 5 other elementary schools. Woodland has over 40 geothermal wells. I don't know if there is any savings. I was asked before if there's ever been any, but this was supposed to save the taxpayers money. And there's 19 pages for the list of bills, which I was a little surprised when I saw today. But one of the things that was bought through Amazon, which caught my eye, was a number of DVDs. I think the kids can get on Netflix cheaper. But you've spent $95 for Pat the Bunny books. And the reason I question that is I raised 3 children. My oldest is 35. I bought them Pat the Bunny book. These books are basically for infants. By the time they hit kindergarten, they've kind of outgrown the book. I don't understand what the reasoning would be for the high school or the school district to buy them. No offense, Mr. Vartel, but I looked at the legal fees for the month. I was just surprised about right-to-know request. I mean, I know a number of right-to-know requests go in, and I've requested a few things that I know I can access under the law. I mean, I'm just curious. It's like $1,700. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of other people that do, but I have, oh, and one thing, Mr. McCall, when he was here, did an excellent job. I hated to see him leave, no offense, but there was a payment made to him for $10,000 for security benefits. I mean, my first thought was, Merry Christmas, Dennis. And I was just curious, was that part of his payout on his contract, which was owed to him? I mean, I don't know any answers. But that being said, also on the agenda, we have a meeting next month. We have one meeting next month. We've had no property committee meetings for 2 months. We won't have any in December. We'll have no committee meetings in December. We will not have another meeting in this school district from the 3rd till the January 20th. This school district continues to operate when the school board isn't here. There's bills that Mr. Whiteleather is going to have to pay for the month of November, the month of December, that will not be approved until January. And I checked, every other school district in the area has 2 school board meetings in the month of December because you still have to do business within the school district. So I don't understand why 3 meetings are being combined into one night when we should have a property committee, finance, policy. We won't have any, I don't know when we're going to have a policy meeting again. Finance, I mean, honestly, is that going to be canceled next month? I mean, it was canceled. And I'm just curious, as a taxpayer, I want to see the school board do the job they were elected to do to help run this school district efficiently. And that means meeting when you have to, whether it interferes with your personal life, but there should be still 2 business meetings held in the month of December.
Thank you. Any other comments this evening? I see no hands. Okay, moving on to board meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the board meeting minutes from the work session meeting held on October 15th, 2013, and the regular board meeting held on October 22nd, 2013?
Yes.
Do I have a second? Mr. O'Neill? All in favor? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you. Now on to fiscal items. Mr. Whiteleather.
Thank you. Several items on for your approval this evening. Item 9.1 is our monthly list of bills for your approval. 9.2 is our monthly treasurer's report, as well on for your approval. One item of note with our treasurer's report, in case you're having trouble sleeping tonight and want to get a good dose of a sleeping pill. If you look back on last year's financials for the same period of time, just like to note our cash flow has been greatly improved month to month, comparing last fiscal year to the current fiscal year, and that obviously leads us to invest more funds and generate more interest earnings for the school district. Item 9.3, the audit report, as was mentioned. Very pleased to report that we had a clean audit report for fiscal year ending June 30, 2013, as prepared by our CPA firm, Major and Mastro. Item 9.4, transportation contract. Essentially what this is anytime we have a situation in which there is a transportation need that doesn't fall within our current routes and runs, oftentimes we'll see if a parent is willing to transport their child, and we reimburse at our mileage rate of 40 cents a mile. Saves the district a lot of money relative to adding on an additional run, personnel, vehicle cost, fuel cost, etc. So that is on for your approval. And lastly, please report that we have recommendation for approval for the 2013-14 food service contract to Aramark at a guaranteed profit of $96,984. I didn't know if possibly if Dr. Zerbe had any additional comments relative to the food service contract.
Are there any questions from the board regarding the food service contract?
How is this a guaranteed payback amount? Because in the past, I think we've had some estimates that haven't worked out. It's been an improvement versus where we were before, but there hasn't been payment. So how hard of a number is that?
Basically what happens is when Aramark or any other vendor provides us with their proposal, they will stipulate a certain guarantee to the school district in terms of what monies will be returned to the school district after settlement of all expenses and revenues come in. So regardless of how they would perform financially, they would guarantee to us at the end of the year an operational profit of $96,984. So it's basically guaranteeing us that the operation will be profitable to the school district. We will not outlay more costs than we have in revenues coming in. So it really is a win-win situation when you have a guaranteed profit as provided by the vendor. And fortunately, in this case, it's a pretty significant profit guarantee for the school district for the current year. So very, very pleased to have that number presented to us.
And just for a clarification, that profit would be specifically deposited in the food services account, and so is not to be intercommingled with general fund money and so forth. So its intent is to be used as reinvestments back into nutrition or other food service related programs, or could be furniture for things of nature for the cafeterias.
Thank you. Excuse me. Do I have a motion to approve items under fiscal items 9.1 through 9.5? Do a motion, Mr. Nascimento. Second, Mrs. Barone. Any comments or questions from the board? Mr. Phillips.
Yes. As far as Mr. Bartles' bills, as far as the right to know, is there one requester? Is it about a certain topic? And do we have a total, if so?
Yeah, actually, I'm glad to answer the question because it's a very legitimate question. We do receive right-to-know requests in the district, as you know, and of course, Angela's office handles all of those things. We have approved a form letter that goes out, and most of the stuff is done fairly routinely through her office without much involvement by my office. And then it comes to matters such as matters of litigation. And fortunately or unfortunately, depending upon the perspective, the law allows people who are in litigation with you to make right-to-know requests with regard to certain information. And so on a routine basis, on a weekly basis, I believe, one of the individuals who is in litigation with the district, and it has to do with the conditional use hearings that are taking place in Worcester, has routinely requested a laundry list of information from the district. As a consequence, Angela has to go through, take a look at that, see what we have, give us a list essentially of what we have and what we don't have, and then my office has to go through item by item to see whether the individual matters or the individual things that were asked for contain any matters of confidentiality or matters that should be protected from the other side in a matter of litigation. You may have various opinions as to whether that's the intent of the right to know law, but nonetheless, it's being used for that purpose, and there is no ability on our side to just say, well, you're not entitled because you're in litigation with us. So all of those things have to be gone through. We have to then give a report to Angela, and then she responds to the requester. When that request is received by them, we have to prepare, and we do prepare, a log with respect to those matters that have been denied to them. They have appealed that to the Office of Open Records, and so we have been involved in litigation with them in that regard. I don't suspect that the dollar figures for the bills that you've seen and reviewed will continue to be the case after the matter of litigation is terminated. Unfortunately, it's not within our knowledge to determine how long this will go on. It's not within our control to stop it. It's just within our responsibility to the district in terms of protection of the district with regard to our litigation case that we take the actions that we have done. So I appreciate the opportunity to answer the question.
One more. As far as the geothermal, if we could get a breakdown of, because I asked this of Bill Jacoby probably about 2 years ago, and it basically came down that natural gas was cheaper. So I just want to, green energy, I understand, but does that mean green and spending money for something that doesn't have returns? So I'd like to see if there's some type of analysis that Bill has for us.
We'll take care of that. We'll report back. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? All right, all in favor? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you. Okay, moving on to personnel items, Mr. Harney.
For your approval this evening, we have one resignation classified, Maureen Jampo, our payroll specialist. We're moving as quickly as we can to fill that. We'll actually be doing some interviews for that position tomorrow. We have one change of status professional. We have 3 change of status classified, 1 compensated professional development leave. We have 2 uncompensated leave professional. We have 3 supplemental contracts for your approval this evening. We have 3 additions to our classified substitute list. We're asking for your approval of the attached list of volunteers, and we have 2 advisements this evening.
Very good. Do I have a motion to accept personnel items 10-1 through 10-14? Do I have a motion? Mr. O'Neill? And a second? Mr. Nascimento? Any questions or comments from the board? All in favor? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you. And on to Dr. Zerbe. Programs.
Item 11.1, the Methacton High School course proposals for 2014-2015 school year. We're asking for the approval of 5 courses: Advanced Placement Spanish Language and Culture, Criminal Justice, Current Issues in Environmental Science, Guitar Ensemble, and Computer Art 3. Are there any questions on 11.1? Yes.
On the environmental course, I just know that that can be a hot topic, politically charged, and just wondered if the course is a balanced course.
According to the course synopsis that I have in front of me, and that it is designed to provide all sides of the issues related to environmental science, including natural gas, shale, and other topics related to that. Item 11.2, gifts and donations. We're recommending that we accept the donation of $1,214.06 to the Worcester Elementary School from Worcester Township Emergency Fund to be used for families experiencing a crisis. Items 11.3, field trips. Approve a trip for Methacton High School girls winter track to New York, New York to compete in the Bishop Laughlin Games on December 20th and 21st, 2013. No cost to the district. And field trip number 2, approve the trip for Methacton High School girls basketball to Wildwood, New Jersey to compete in the Boardwalk Basketball Classic, December 28 and 29, 2013. No cost to the district.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve under programs, items 11.1 through 11.3? Mrs. Hackett? And a second? Mr. Roth? Any additional questions for Dr. Zerbe on any of these items or comments from the board? All in favor? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you. And policy, Dr. Zerbe.
No response on number 12.
If you want to continue with other.
Methacton High School baseball field Memorial Terrace. Recommending that we approve the additional donation of the Memorial Terrace from Mascaro & Sons as part of the approved baseball field project.
Good. Do I have a motion to approve under other item 13.1, Methacton High School baseball field Memorial Terrace? I have a motion, Mrs. Wittring. Second, Mr. O'Neill. Any questions for Dr. Zerbe? Mr. Nascimento?
What's the value of the donation?
Approximately $40,000.
Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you. And dates for board members' calendars. We will have one meeting, as Ms. Zalabak discussed. We will have our Finance Committee meeting at 6:15, our reorg at 7, to be followed by our work session, to be followed by the regular meeting combined. And in addition, on November 26th is a Worcester Township meeting at the to approve this baseball scoreboard, and that's held at the Community Hall. Am I right? The Worcester Community Hall? Okay.
Can I?
Sure.
I just wanted to ask, maybe Jim or Herb knows, on this November 26th meeting, is that a meeting where discussion is going to be inspired, or is that a discussion, or is that a meeting where we're just going to get a decision?
I would say it's more discussion, and the decision may or may not know it, may be done by mail. I don't know how they're going to handle that. Frank might be able to shed more light on that.
You're talking about the Worcester zoning hearing? It's my understanding that the board concluded the taking of its testimony at the last hearing. If that is correct, then the board has 45 days to render its written opinion in order. Generally, these boards meet once a month. Some of them meet 2, and I may be wrong with respect to Worcester. They may meet 2. Generally, they meet once, and at the conclusion of their hearing, if your matter is ended at that time and there's no additional testimony, they generally render the decision at the next meeting and give you a written opinion in order. Now, that's what generally, I would expect that. I would not expect additional testimony.
Thank you.
Can I answer that since I was at the meeting? No offense, did a very good job. But they stated at the end of the meeting that they would meet on November 26th at 6:30 to render their decision on the scoreboard. They didn't say anything about anyone else being on the agenda, but they would take all the testimony under advisement, they would discuss it, they would render the decision next week, and hopefully we'll be there to hear their decision and keep our fingers crossed.
Thanks for your help, I guess.
Thanks, I
right.
think we need to put you on the agenda here, Canty. Okay, moving on to old business. Do I have any old business from the board? Do I have any new business?
Yeah, it's very awkward as far as the homeschool, why the reorganization, why we're going all through that and not having any board discussion in the public about how it's going to be set up and why we're at this junction. And, you know, it's something that, you know, will come back to the board that we swept things under the rug. It will come back on the board that we're picking sides. You know, there's nothing been done publicly. And when I hear a report that the district council's dissolved, that there's 501c3, at what point do we have public comment on where the board members sit with it? How it's being organized? I mean, this falls under our purview of operations in the school. You know, I enjoy the reports from homeschool, but I'd also like financial reports, what kind of money they're raising, what kind of money they're spending. These are things that have to be presented to the board. I mean, it's happening under our roof. They're using our facilities, and there's been no discussion in public, and I would like to know how we're going to handle this going forward. I've sat back for a while now watching this, and this has apparently been going on since September. And when's the public get it to see it, and when do we get to act in public? And it's troubling me on how to handle this other than let's discuss it and let's maybe have something next work session.
Perhaps we can have something put on the agenda, Dr. Zerbe, where you can give us an update on, give us a little history, give us an update, and will that work for you?
It's a start.
Okay.
Thanks.
Very good. So we can put that on the agenda. Any other new or old business from any board member? There being none, courtesy of the floor.
Hi, good evening. Winnie Hayes, Fisher Road, Worcester. I'd like to start by first thanking the school board for all their efforts on our behalf. Having been a school board member, I know that it's, in some sense, a thankless job in that you put in many, many hours for no pay. Hopefully, people recognize your contribution and periodically say, thank you very much. What I want to talk about tonight was actually teed off very nicely by Mrs. Coop from the Eagleville Home and School. And she started off her presentation by talking about trust and respect and how that's an expectation that we all have of Eagleville, its staff, its faculty, the parent volunteers. And we can apply that same principle across the district. For the district to work, we have to have trust and respect in the team. And we've got an issue that is now floating through the community pretty widely that has not yet been resolved. And I'd like to bring it to the board's attention again and ask for resolution. And this is difficult because the person concerned I served with for 2 years on the board. But there are rampant, more than rumors, there's information circulating that we have somebody, Mrs. Petruscus, who had a DUI in Florida back in February. And then when confronted, she has gone on record as saying this did not occur, that her problems are tied to identity theft, some kind of cyber theft. So a number of people have researched this, and to really verify whether this in fact occurred or not, I contacted Pinellas County Clerk of the Court. I ordered records by certified mail. Those records are on their way. Other people, I'm told, have also received those records. So there's considerable evidence to the contrary about what occurred in February. So the problems, as I see it, are not just the DUI. People make errors in judgment. It's the prevarication about what happened. It's the statement that that was untrue and that wasn't the issue. The issue was identity theft. So I'm looking at the board here tonight. You've got a reorg meeting coming up in December. This issue needs to be resolved before the reorganization meeting. And I'm asking the board to ask your solicitor to determine concretely, and actually other people will bring information forward, but to look into this in a formal way. If this happened, and if Mrs. Petruscus lied about it, then that has destroyed trust and respect. And for the board to go forward and have the trust and respect of the community, this issue must be brought to conclusion. And I would ask Joyce to step down as president, if that is the case, not to run for president again, and to actually step down from the board. It's the untruth, the statement that this didn't occur, that is the biggest problem, because it destroys trust and respect. And so I'm looking to this board to resolve this issue before the reorg meeting on next December 3rd. Thank you.
Since the comment's been made, and essentially, Mrs. Hayes, you've asked the board to direct me to do something, I've actually dealt with this issue in discussing it with Dr. Zerbe and also discussing it with members of the board. And let me say, certainly the board gave you an opportunity, as is the right of citizens, to come before it tonight and speak about matters. Generally, it is the case, and what the board is required to take in terms of public comment, is public comment on matters that are before the board or that may come before the board. In other words, boiled down, it's matters that are within the board's jurisdiction to determine. It's not within the jurisdiction of this board to decide issues of guilt or innocence, whether there have been charges brought or whether it is alleged that there have been charges brought and the like. This board waits, and matters like that may never come before it. There may never be an appropriate time for this board to become involved in issues such as that. If a board member is accused of having done something wrong by a member of the public, it's not for the board to begin an investigation with regard to that unless it has something to do with the district. And in this case, as I see it, there is an allegation that was made in a prior meeting here. Mrs. Petruscus has spoken to that and has given her side, if you will, of what she says the issue is and what has caused the issue to be raised on the internet. As I understand it, this matter has been something that has been discussed on the internet or appears on the internet. I haven't spent any district funds researching anything on the internet. Don't intend to do that because it's not a matter that can come before this board. Whether it happened or didn't happen, and I don't mean to try to take sides on someone saying nothing happened, someone saying something did happen. But the fact of the matter is that's not a matter for this board to be in the middle of. It's not something that can be brought before the school board. You asked tonight that someone choose not to run for an office. That, again, is not a matter for the board. The board can make the ultimate decision as to who is elected to an office of its officers, but it's not for the board to say that someone can't put their their name in,
Right.
for example. Also, with regard to issues of whether someone steps down from a board or doesn't step down from a board, that matter, as I've advised the board, is a matter for the electorate, not a matter for
I understand.
Individual board members to hear collectively in the meeting room determine that despite the fact that you were elected at one time, that you were then not entitled to take your seat for
I didn't say
allegation.
that was the case.
I understand. I'm just explaining the advice that I've given. And so what I've suggested to the board is that at this time, I see no reason to get in the middle of the issue, and that it's something that will probably be debated in the public. It's something that may be debated as an election issue. As time goes on, this board will have to make decisions with respect to who its officers are or who they are not, but I would respectfully suggest that it is not appropriate for the board solicitor to be doing investigations and charging the district with respect to board members. It would not be appropriate for me to investigate Mrs. Petrowski's background any more than any of the other 8 members of the board.
So if I can just respond to that.
Excuse me, no, you may not. This is public comment, and you've made your comment. You've taken your 2 minutes. Thank you, Dr.
You're
Hayes.
welcome.
Do I, Mr. Andrews?
John Andrews, Lower Providence. This has been an interesting meeting, and I think the home and school presentation was wonderful. And just immediately prior to my coming here, Dr. Winnie Hayes spoke to you, and I think she stated the concerns in the community very well. And the community, in my opinion, finds the comment by the board president following a query by a member of the public. We find her comments to be very curious, and if they were true, they don't show up in the docket in Florida.
Mr. Andrews, if I may, sir, if you have something that you would like to respond to in terms of the board, that's within the board's power, would you do that? And with all due respect, sir, you don't speak for the entire community, and I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your particular opinion. You're certainly able to do that if it's in terms of what you're asking this board to do. In other words, if there's something, if there is a power that this board has that you're asking it to exercise, then please do that, and you can tailor your comments to that. But at this time, to go on about your opinion as to what's on the internet with respect to an allegation that this board has no jurisdiction with regard to, I'd respectfully suggest that you not do that.
Well, to finish up, I think there's a matter of trust involved here, and hopefully things will be clarified, and I think that there's not a lot of people who come to the microphone at courtesy of the floor for a variety of reasons, but again, I say that what we're concerned with here is a matter of trust, and if there's distrust in one area, the distrust would spread out to many issues that the school board, within the school board's purview, and I respect your dialogue, Mr. Bartle, relative to call it defending board members and board function, but I think this is a very simple case, and let's not convolute it and confuse the issue. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Andrews, if I may, I don't pretend to defend any board member with respect to issues such as this. I'm not here to defend anybody. We do have a policy in the district that clearly indicates that personal attacks or comments about people's personal issues are not part of the courtesy of the floor section of the meeting. In addition to that, the Sunshine Law is very clear, sir, that you have a right to get up and you have a right to speak. But that right extends to matters that could come before the board or are on the board's agenda. In other words, items that are within the jurisdiction of the board. I'm just trying to make sure you can take whatever position you want publicly someplace else. You can do whatever your freedoms allow you to do outside of the confines of the meeting and the microphone. We're just trying to confine the behavior in this meeting to that which is legally required and permissible pursuant to the policies. And that's all that I'm doing. I'm not trying to take a position on one thing or another with respect to any accusations or denials or anything like that. I personally have never expressed an opinion as to either and don't intend to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Mrs. Barbone.
Mary Jane Barbone from Eagleville. I too, unfortunately, have a comment, but I'm going to make my comment towards the whole board. Having served on the board for 9 years and being in the board president role, I took it very seriously. Some of the comments that I hear around our community right now and some of the information that's being passed around, much of which has been substantiated, and then to hear the response from our board president, I will remind the board, in reviewing some of your own board policy 011, having to do with governance and code of conduct. B, number 3, leading with respect and taking full responsibility for board activity and behavior. This board is charged to look at its own, look at all that on its own as well. And again, on number 6, complying with board policy and all applicable local, state, and federal laws and regulations. That is something that you are charged to do as a school board member. You're also charged under letter E, number 3, to evaluate your own performance. So as a board member, I take that, I took that as we should be evaluating ourselves, we should be policing ourselves. When an issue comes up, and not to reiterate what Dr. Hayes said, the issue at hand in and of itself is nothing that should have been a concern. But the response in trying to either deny or saying this didn't happen is really concerning to much of our community. So I would appreciate our board to review your policies, and in making your decision in a few weeks in electing a board president, I really think you should take some of these matters into your thoughts. Thank you.
Any other comments? Candy?
I would like to address one thing. Mr. Bartle spoke about sunshine laws and executive session. You state this is a personal matter. It is not a school board matter. Then why was it announced last month that this was brought before the school board in executive session? And at the time, I was curious because that was, to me, was not an executive session subject under the sunshine law. That was a personal situation, which at that point, it didn't affect the school district directly. Joyce, personally, I've never had any issue with you at all. I like you. I see this as, we're taking a long time to get over what happened last year with Dr. Quinn. And that was a black mark on the school district. It was an embarrassment. It was public. It seems the school district has a problem this time of year. I only know what I saw on a county website. I was aware of this information in the beginning of September. I chose not to go forward. But to say that this is not a personnel issue, you're not an employee of the school district, I don't see how this was an executive session topic. I could be wrong. But you had stated this is a personal It wasn't a board issue, so I was just curious as to why it was brought before the board in executive session. Thank you.
Any other comments? Sir?
Bob Andorn, Worcester Township. Not to pile on, but I would like to just express one more citizen's opinion that I do not have, and I understand this is still an allegation, and therefore I don't believe that there should be any decision at this point in time. But to express my opinion, I too have serious concern about the leader of a board who is charged or has the ability to dictate and spend $100 million, plus or minus, and the trust and or honesty that goes with that in that same particular decision. To address Mr. Bartle's concern, I respectfully request this board to censure this individual if the allegation is found to be true. That is one of your bylaws, and I'm asking, I realize that Mr. Bartle didn't feel like that censure rule had any merit or held any weight, but if nothing else, I would like to see this board censure that member if in fact the allegation is true. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other
Thank you, sir. If I can just speak briefly to that, you recall the last meeting, or one of the last meetings. I did give my opinion with respect to the censure policy of the board, and the board decided to maintain the censure policy, which of course is their right to do. You can always ignore the solicitor's opinion, and that's their right to do that, and I respect that. It is a policy, and I just wanted to indicate it is a policy that suggests that someone can be censored for actions, whether they agree with the censor or not is then a matter for them to determine. They have the right to then request a hearing, and the board sits in judgment of the individual as the hearing takes place. My concern with it was a couple of things. There are no remedies under the policy, nor can there be with respect to that. The remedies are what I've suggested this evening. If someone is a board official and the majority of the board members don't want that person to continue to be a board official, they have the remedy under the school code with regard to that. If someone is a board member and the majority of the public, voting public, does not wish them to be a board member, the majority of the voting public has their remedy at the ballot box when the time comes. The censor policy gives nothing in that regard. Yet it affords someone the opportunity to have a hearing, and so effectively what happens is the district taxpayers can be relegated to the position of paying for charges and a hearing that have no end result. There's no conclusion. You can say, well, okay, we still maintain the censor or not, but there is no remedy with respect to that. There is no punishment with regard to that. There is no change of condition with respect to that. I looked at that and said I thought that to be essentially a meaningless policy, and that the remedies with respect to behavioral issues were found in other parts of the school code or in the public election law. And so as a result, I gave the advice that I did. And I just wanted to be clear with respect to, I'm not suggesting that it's not a good idea to follow the policies of the district. I'm suggesting that we really shouldn't have a policy that gives people rights to hearings with no conclusion.
Previously was cut off. Am I allowed to comment on that statement?
No.
No.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Any other comments?
Actually, Mr. Bartle, did you say censor or censure? I thought you said censor.
No, I said censure.
Good
Good evening. As many of you know, my name's Kathleen Schlenker. Question I'm posing tonight is something we had posed as a home and school parents to Kathleen and Kim at the last high school home and school meeting. And I wasn't going to say anything, but sitting in the audience tonight is a bus driver. It is known that you guys are looking for possibly outsourcing our busing department. I just have some questions with regards to that, and I don't know if you can answer them now or not, and I understand. In the process of looking to another company, and I'll use just Metz as an example because that's who we use for everything. If we would go to an outside firm, what is the guarantee that our children would get on a bus every morning to the same lovely face that they see in September? I realize there's things that happen in a school year where a bus driver may flip to another position or something like that. But my concern is, okay, my personal children are 7th and 10th grade, currently in the school. But I watch other children in the district. They're 3rd grade, kindergarten, and 4th grade, 4-year-olds. They're preschool right now. My concern is the younger kids, the ones in elementary currently and coming in. What guarantee is there that they are going to have that same bus driver? Is a new firm going to guarantee us that? My other thought is, what happens to our current bus drivers? Many of them have seniority of many years. I don't think any one of you would want to lose your seniority that you've worked for many years at the drop of a hat to save somebody else some money. They're just all little concerns that we have. What is going to happen? Are these people going to be required the same security checks as our bus drivers? Is the maintenance on the busings and the buses going to be as strict as what our guys in transportation do? They are constantly back there maintaining the buses. What happens if one of those buses, this company's buses, breaks down? What's going to happen? Are they going to have enough busing to provide us with that? There are all little things that, and I understand the economics. I totally understand that. My husband has been through more layoffs than I can imagine in the last 5 years. So I understand the economics. But sometimes I wonder if we put economics above the safety and the security of the children of the Methacton School District. Like I said, I don't know, expect an answer. And I know it's all in the preliminaries, and they're all things you have to look into. But as you look into, there are things that, and I know a lot of you have children in the district, and you would have to think of those questions yourself. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for the questions. I will just respond briefly to your items. All the items that you raised, or the concerns that you brought before this board, are our concerns as well. You need to understand, and the public needs to understand clearly, that the students' health, welfare, and safety is of utmost important in making any decision as a school district. And certainly, as my job as superintendent, making a recommendation on what path we may choose, the student safety, health, and welfare is the utmost importance. But I can also tell you that we issued an RFP so that we could gather information, so that we could present to the board at a future time to make a recommendation if one so was advantageous for us to entertain. At this point, we're not at that stage, and certainly at the preliminary stages of evaluating that information. So there's certainly a process, if at all, that we would, if we choose to look at an outside vendor with respects to keeping the existing workforce and structure of transportation that we have. So I think it's important for everyone to know that we will be able to answer those questions in far greater detail once we make a decision about what direction we really need to go with regards to the questions you've asked and many others that we internally have as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments this evening? There being none, do I have a motion to, I'm sorry, Mrs. Lynch, Communications.
Methacton High School will host Straight Talk for Parents in cooperation with the organization Drug Free Pennsylvania this Thursday at 7:30 p.m. right here in the LGI. This program is designed to help parents educate themselves on how to identify if a child they care about is exhibiting signs of drug and alcohol abuse that they might not otherwise be aware of. The music and art department faculties are preparing for an event of art and music on Friday evening, November 22nd at 7:30 p.m. in the auditorium at Arcola. This first-of-its-kind event will feature performances by a great many of our faculty, staff, alumni, and other special guests. Donations will be accepted to sponsor music and art scholarships for Methacton students. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Nascimento, do I have a second? Mr. Roth, all in favor? Aye. Thank you and good evening. We're adjourned.